Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today with us. Good morning, Luana.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Good, and you?
Good, very good. I'm very happy, very excited. I really want to thank everyone who is joining us today. These webinars, we have more and more attendees. Today, we have a large audience. I thank you for this. You are making these webinars possible, all of you who are here. We've shared the survey for you to suggest content for these webinars. We want them to be as useful as possible for you. We will share the link for this survey again today, getting the opportunity with this large audience. And please don't stop promoting these webinars with your colleagues and users. What we want to provide is an opportunity for you to keep learning SAP Business One. So thank you. Very excited to see that this subject was a subject that interested so many people. Together, my name is Clara Custodio, for those of you who don't know me. I lead customer experience here at Consensus. One of the things that we do is we design this webinar program, and I'm here to help all the users. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to contact me at any time. Together with me today, and to be able to deliver this interesting content, is Luana Wickert. Luana is a senior consultant here at Consensus. She's been a senior technical consultant with us for more than 6 years. But before that, she was already doing amazing things with SAP Business One. She was the IT person at one of our customers. So her experience is huge. And she's one of those very, very smart people that I go to when I want to understand something. And I just feel like this is too much. And when it comes to IT and SAP Business One, sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed. So when I need a clear explanation and someone that will talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old, I always go to Luana, and she's able to make it understandable for me. So I'm sure that we're all going to enjoy very much this webinar. Thank you, Luana,
You're welcome.
for committing and being here with us today. And I'm going to go over some very quick housekeeping items. The session is being recorded. We will share the recording with you at any point. Tomorrow, you will receive an email with the link. All participants are muted by default so that we can concentrate on the contact, but you can ask questions using the Q&A feature at any point in time during the webinar. Luana will try to answer all your questions at the end of her demo, of her presentation. And we will now turn our cameras off to be wise with the bandwidth and to allow for the presentation. So I'm going to stop my camera. And Luana, I will stop sharing my screen, and you can share your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me start here. It's Can you see my SAP screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So basically, as Clara explained, what we are going to see today and look into is how to create new user-defined fields. It's basically, let's say you have some information that you need to enter in SAP and you don't find any field that you can enter that information for your business partner, for your IT master data, or for your documents, or for anything in SAP. So you need the ability to expand what the fields that you already have inside of SAP. That's possible from the menu tools, customization tools, and then you have user-defined fields management here. We are also going to cover the user-defined tables, but I'll start with the user-defined fields and show you the different possibilities of fields that you can have. So from here, once you open your user-defined fields management, you'll see the ability to select what type on what part of SAP you are going to add new information. You can do on master data. Master data are basically your business partners, your item master data, your employees, all documents, not documents, all forms that you have that keep your master data inside of SAP. You have the ability to also add in marketing documents. Not sure how familiar you are about marketing documents, but basically this means any sales or purchase document you have inside of SAP. So once we are creating fields under marketing documents, we need to keep in mind that we'll create fields on any marketing document. So if you want a field for a sales order, for example, that same field will be created on the delivery, on the invoice, on the purchase order, on the AP invoice. So basically, it will be on all marketing documents. Then you have for the other types here for payments or for production orders, for accounting, like the journal entries and the other parts of SAP. I'm not going one by one, but let's go and use as a sample here our business partner. Okay, so our business partner is a master data, and then their business partners. Then you have the ability to do for the business partner itself, for the addresses. If you open here the any business partner, let me open one here, and you can see that for addresses is like another you can have multiple records for the same business partner. So if you like to create it basically on this part, then will be on the address. If we like a field here created on the business partner master data, then it's just business partners, and that's going on for the payment terms also. If you like to have a different UDF there. So going back here, creating, for example, for a business partner. Something else you need to keep in mind at the time you are going to create a UDF, it's suggested to nobody to be inside of the system, because if somebody is inside of the system while you're creating user-defined fields or user-defined tables, it can cause inconsistency on the data. And for sure, at the time that you create the UDF, they will ask all the users that have SAP open to close the screen, and that's not optional. It will close whatever they are doing. So, for example, you have a user entering a big sales order with 100 lines, for example, and you go there and you create a UDF that will close the user screen, and he'll lose all his job. There is no save option for saving. So every time you're going to create a new field for your system, it's important to do that after hours, or ask everybody to get out of the system for a few minutes in order to do that. So once you have opening where you are going to add the UDF, you come to the add button, and then you're going to give a title that will be a name, that how the UDF will be kept on the database. So how you can use for queries or reports later. It's recommend that you use small names here. Okay, I'm showing you on version 10, but especially on those who are on 9.3. There are some parts that it has a limitation on the size of this field. So it's important to keep the title as small as possible. So for example, I'm just going to call here my UDF like webinar. Webinar. And for the description, here is how you are going to see the field. The users are going to see the name of the field on inside of SAP. So then I'll enter here, they, let's say, last webinar for customer. And then I can choose what type of field I can have. I can have an alphanumeric, then it will be any text that I can enter, and I can set the length for that UDF. Keep in mind that you are never able to make the field smaller, but you can increase that later. So for example, if I created this with 10 characters, but later I find out that 10 is too small, I can come and increase that, but I can never come back and change this for 5 characters if I thought that is too big for me, my use. After that, you can select the structure that for these changes based on the type you select. It can be a regular, that will be any regular text. It can be address, that will be like in address format or phone format, or a text. Basically, text means that it will be like a big field with no restriction of size. The other options you can have here is like numeric. Numeric, you can apply the length too, and then you don't have the other option here for the different types, but you can select that some validation methods here. Okay, so you can have tape data and data time, and dates can be even the date or the hour. The format for the date or the format for the hour, this is defined on the general settings. Uh, the same apply if you go with units and totals. Okay, if you go with units and totals, you have the options to do rate, amount, price, quantity, percentages, and measure. What's the difference between those? Basically, the difference between those are the numbers of decimals that you are going to have based on what you have on the general settings. So let me close here. If you go to modules, administration, system initialization, general settings, here on the display tab, you have your format for your date. Okay, that your date format, the format for your time, and you also have the number of decimals for each of those types that you can select there. So basically, if you're selecting units and totals and telling that's amounts, you are going to have 2 decimals. Now, if you tell that's type rates, you are going to have 6 decimals according to my company definition that applies to the way that you have for your company. Continuing here, let's I close it because otherwise I could not open the other screen while I was in the middle here. Last webinar for this customer. Uh, then I also have the option here for general that could be a link or an image. If I select image, the images will be saved on the bitmap path, just as the standard SAP images are saved. And let me go back here to any other and go into the validations part here. So for validations, let's say you can use different types of validation. None is just you are going to use the configuration of the field that's selected. You can link to entities. Okay, so you can link to system object. This will allow you to say, oh, this field will be linked to another business partner, for example. Then your link will be the card code. That's the main key for the business partner. You can link for items. You can link for any other document, any other object that you see here. Keep in mind that I'm using version 10. If you're trying to using your SAP with an older version, you may not see all the objects. You may see a little less here. You can link to a user-defined table. We are going to go to this option later once I show how to create a user-defined table. Or you can link to a user-defined object that applies the same of the user tables. Okay, so this is one type of validation. You can have another validation that's called valid values. Let's say uh, I have, this will be an option yes or no. So I can enter here, let's say N as a code, and the description will be no. I'll enter yes and yeah, well, Y for yes and yes here. So this will make basically my field show only these two options for me to select. I can set it's more common, like I have here. I also like this field to start with an N, with no. So I can have selected here, and I can say also that this field cannot be empty. This default option and the mandatory field, it applies for any type of, doesn't need to have valid values. I just mentioning this now because it's more common to use when you have valid values. Okay. This is one option, this is one sample, but you can have here a list, a big list of options too. And you can have the option advanced. Advanced, the options here basically change according to the type of the field you selected, but you can say this can only start with. So if let's say if this was a link for a, well, if it was a link, I would use the option link, but just as a sample, like this should also start with HTTP. Every time the field needs to start with this information. So it SAP will do that validation. It can be used any of the other options you have here. Okay, so let's just show if you have numeric, then you have different options that will be greater, the smaller or between some information. Okay. The this lets me go ahead and create, let me place this as none. Let me go ahead and create this field. I'm going to add, at the time that I'm trying to add my field, it will tell me that the database will be modified. In all open windows will be closed. So I like to continue with that. If there was any other user connected to this database at this moment, another screen was going to pop up telling me what connections was had to this database. So I could choose the option to continue or to cancel or to try again. If let's say some user forgot to close SAP, I'm gonna ask them to close. Just at this point, just try again. So these are the what's going to happen when you try to add. After my field was added here, if I come to the business partner, okay, where that field will be, I'll need to come here from view, user defined fields, and I'll have that field here on my side. This is just the field that we just created. Okay, so I have the I can only enter 10 characters as we define it there. So if, as I mentioned, if you have to change, if you can like to increase that UDF, you can select the UDF here, you can press update, and you can increase the size, let's say for 15. And it will happen the same thing again. It will tell me the structure, and then that change it to 15 characters. Now, the same thing applies if you like to give us a different name for this field. You can never change the title, the name that will be on the database itself, but you can change the way that field will be presented to the customer, so or to the user. I'm sorry. So in this case, you can just call. Yeah, let's say no, that was too big. I just like to have last webinar, change that, and that's the way that you can change the name of your UDF here. That that goes over the creation, the update, and it is possible for you to remove an UDF. Now, with removal, it's you need to be very careful, because if that UDF was used on some query, if that UDF was used on some report, or you have in some integration process where that UDF, it may not be used anymore, but it was on your select, it was part of that at some point and was not removed from that query, that's crystal, or that integration process, and you remove that UDF, even though you're not using more anymore in SAP, that will make those process not to work anymore. And also, if you remove a UDF who has information, the only way to recover that information is with a backup restore. Once you remove, you lose all the data that you have there. Creating the UDF with the exactly same name won't make any difference. That will make a difference on the queries and reports, but not on the data. Okay, so for removal is just select the field and press remove, and that will remove that field. So if I go here and go to view user defined fields, there is nothing anymore to show. So it's not showing anything here. Okay. This goes over the creation of a simple uh, a simple UDF. Now, let's say I I have an option where I like to link to many information. I can still use the valid values that, as we just saw, that you can say, oh, I can have the, as we had the option yes or no, but you can have, let's say you like to have another list, a list of, I don't know, of zip codes or anything that you like to have a specific list for that. One option is just use here the another table. So from the tools, again, customization tools, you have the option to user defined tables. Again, you're gonna give a table name that will be kept in your inside of your database. So let's say I'm going to create a list of zip codes, and then I have the option to do that no object at all. A master data rows. Those are for the creation of object that probably will be covered in the future webinar. The same apply for the document and document rows, but those are not our focus today. So basically what we are focusing here will be the options of no object, is where you enter the code for your on your table, or the no object without increment, where basically SAP creates a code for you that starts with one and that's going forward. So let's say I select here no object. I have the option for archivable. If you do archive some data from your database, but that's for a list that you are going to keep using, that may not be a good idea. So once you added your user defined table, you press update, and your user defined table is created. Where can you see the table? You can come here, user defined windows, and your table will be listed here. So you have the option here to enter your data. Let's say 33178, and I call this the row, for example, and press update, and I can keep entering entering data. Okay, so now that I have this table created, I like to have that specific for my documents. I like the user to select that field. So I'm going here on the marketing documents. I'm doing that on the title. What's the difference in title of and rows? Basically, let's open a sales order, for example. Everything that you see on the header here, that's just one for each sales order. That's the title. Once what you see here on where you place your items, or even if it serves where you place the lines, those are the rows here of your marketing document. So keep in mind, if you like to create, you're going to have one field for this whole sales order, will be on the title. If you are going to have one field for each line, for this line I can have one, for this for the second line I can have other, then will be over the lines. So on the title of the document, I'm going to create a new UDF, and I'm going to call that zip code, and then here zip code. So I'm going to select here that this will be linked to entities, and I'm going to link that. Oh, why is not opening here my table now? The second, let me make sure here I do user yeah, my table is here. I did create some data and tools customization. Okay, I have here. Let me add, and it's numerical linked. I'll have to check on this specific version what's happening, but I do a different sample then. I'm not going to link to that table, but I'm going to link here to assisting objects. In this case, let's say I like to have item here. Okay, so not, no, let me say I'd like to have a second business partner. So for example, if I have let me say here, a reference partner. I can't have any space here or any on the title. So let me call this ref partner and reference partner. So basically, let's say I got a special reference for that order and I like to have that business partner. So I'm going to add this here. It says that's going to change and close all my screens. When you're creating for marketing document, it takes a little longer because as it goes to each marketing document to create that. So I can see here on the bottom that it finished successfully. So I go in over the sales order. Again, I go to the view user defined fields. So let me go to my last sales order here. And here I have my field linked to the business partner. And then I can select any other business partner here. Let's say this order was referred by this business partner, and I can update that. That's the way that you can link your UDF to another fields, or you can come from here and press new and just create your new business partner from there. Okay, so that basically cover how to do a link to another table. So I think this is basically what we have to cover on this webinar on how to go over the creation of the fields, how to create the user defined table here too. And I'm really sorry that I could not link the user defined table to the UDF. I can just oh, this is the tables. I can just give another try, maybe to see if on the business partner, it does allow me, but I'm not sure if probably something with this specific. Oh, here it's listing. Or maybe because I had that screen open and I didn't close this user define. So let me just create here a sample so you can see how the link to the table works. So let me call this zip code. Let me add, and then let me go to my business partner here. Once I open this, let me go to the last one. View user defined fields. I have my zip codes here. So here, once I create a UDF linked to another table, what you can see is that you have the option to define new. That is different than what if you have just values selected on the proper UDF instead of linked to a table. If you are having your values, let's say if you're not creating a table, but you are adding here when creating a UDF, you are using the option valid values and entering all the values here. That's the difference. So let me just code valid values, and so you can see different values. So I could just use Vivi. I'll show you the option yes or no, no, and the other one yes. So and I set as default no. So if I add this, okay, and now I close. I open my business partner here. Is usually when you press user defined field and you regularly close the windows, it keeps open. It's not keeping didn't keep open this part because it was forced to close by the process. So I come here, see here, I just have the options yes or no. And if I like to add a new option here, I'll need to go back to the UDF, do changes without anybody inside of the system. Instead of on this one, I can just come here and enter, let's say, and row 2 and update, and I do have that option available. So that's some main difference when using valid values instead of and using link to the tables. Okay, so with that, we cover everything that we have to cover on this webinar, and we'll be receiving the questions here. I can.
Thank you, Luana.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. We have some questions already, and maybe you can stay in the system in case you want to show something while you answer these questions. So we have a question that says, when you create your user-defined table, do you have to register it? So I think it means, do you have to save it? How do you save it, or how do you register it?
No, you do, there is no registration that needs to be done with user-defined table. That applies basically for the when you create the tables with types objects. But the table just as I created now, there is no registration need to be done. At the time that I created the table here, I was able to see under here under the menu, and you can start adding data. But again, those only applies when you select the no object or no object without increment. The master data in master data rows, document and document rows, those are objects. We do not classify them as a table, and those need to be registered. But that's that's another topic.
Okay, so that's something that we will cover in a different webinar, probably in the future. Thank you, Luana. So another question is, how can I know before deleting a UDF if it's being used in reports, queries, or crystals?
There is no easy way to know that. the only way is going over where you have customizations and checking that. For the queries itself, I can tell you that SAP records all the queries on the table. For those, you, if you like, you will be able to create another query to find if that field is used, but not for crystal. The crystals, you'll need to, if you use that field, you'll need to go one by one and check. Otherwise, the crystal will stop working at the after you delete the UDF, and then after you see stopping working, you'll have to take action and go and fix that
Okay.
crystal.
Okay. And the same for integrations, I
The
guess.
same, yes, the same for
Okay.
integrations.
Okay. We have another question here. Are we able to move the UDF to the body of the document to see it without opening the UDF on the side?
Yes, that's possible using the user interface.
Okay, using the UI, which is also something that you're not going to show now, but maybe we can do a webinar about how to use the user interface. But the answer is yes, it is possible.
Exactly.
Okay, we have another question yet, and it's can all users create UDFs, or do you need a specific type of license or authorization to do that?
Only users with professional license can do that,
Okay,
and proper authorization. Even if the user has a professional license, a proper authorization is needed to in order to be able to create UDF. So let's user define fields management here. You can so let me get, well, I think that everybody that's, oh, this user is not super user on this database. So here on the user defined fields management is where you're going to select if the user has authorization or not to create. But again, remember the user needs to have a professional license.
okay, okay. The next question is if I create a UDF, can I see it or can also my colleagues see them?
At the moment that you create the UDF, it's visible for everyone inside of SAP. That's not something that you need to enable.
Okay, okay, fantastic. So I don't think we have more questions. If I'm going to share my screen now, if, if I manage, give me just a second. Okay, so no more questions for now. Again, Luana, thank you very much. For all of you who joined us today, thank you very much as well. If you have additional questions, please send them to us through email and we'll try to get to them as soon as possible. We hope that you enjoyed this content. You know that one of our missions is to make sure that all users get as much from the system as possible. And we really believe that learning more SAP every day is going to help you all. So thank you very much. You're going to see a very quick survey when I close the webinar. We really value your feedback and your suggestions to improve. If you can please value the webinar today, we will greatly appreciate it. Again, thank you very much. Thank you, Luana.
Thank you.
And you all have a wonderful day.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.